And Mike, I defer to you on this one. I would be very surprised if a senator like Ted Kennedy, who knew Washington so well, who had seen perfect constantly being the enemy of good, who went through a terrible period in 1993 and 1994 when health care was savaged. And as Paul Begala wrote in a recent op-ed, telling Democrats, we tried throwing the Hail Mary, and we ended up getting sacked. Get what you can get now. Every step you take forward towards universal health care is a step in the right direction. Again, I won't speak for Ted Kennedy. I don't know, but it seems to me, just looking at his history and legacy, he would take what he could get now.
Well, Joe, you know, I mean, the testimony of history and the testimony, we've been on the air now for a couple of hours, about Ted Kennedy's life as a politician is that he was the consummate legislator. There's a great deal of irony left in the fact that he was presiding over the United States Senate on the afternoon of November 22nd, 1963, when he received word that his brother had been shot in Dallas. And through all of the years, and especially since 1980, when his hopes for the presidency ended in failure to Jimmy Carter, he has concentrated on being the consummate legislator. So you're right, we can't speak for him, obviously, but you also can't envision him seeing this lifelong ambition, this lifelong legislative goal crumbling because of his obstinacy. I can't see that happening. I can see him instead going to Olympia Snowe or Susan Collins of Maine and saying, you now are the 60th vote. You now are the vote that is going to help fashion some degree of success here.
This is a thing, and we've talked about this every morning on the show. The one thing that Ted Kennedy understood, and any great legislator understands, is that you just don't go around speaking in generalities, let's be blunt, like the president's been doing. You go to Olympia Snowe. If you think you can pick off a Republican or two, and you ask a question, a very simple question. What do you need? I need you. I will do what it takes to get you on board. What do you need? I need the 60th vote. I've lined everybody else up. That's how it works. And I will say, again, while we can't speak for Ted Kennedy here, both Mike Barnicle, because we've talked about it. We have. Both Mike Barnicle and I know how Ted Kennedy operated. He would go on the floor, and he was a liberal's liberal. He was the liberal, just a hero to liberals for years. But if a friend came to him, a conservative friend, and says, I really need this, he wouldn't beat his chest, you know, away from me. He would say, okay, let me think through this. You know what? I'm going to call Orrin Hatch. Right. And I'll tell you what, Orrin will be behind you, and I've got some other friends. I'm going to line them up for you. Because Ted Kennedy understood that was part of the deal, that you were pragmatic, that even if you couldn't get what you wanted all the time, you worked the cracks and edges. You did the deal.
Pat and David in Washington, Savannah here, you understand Washington.
And Willie does, of course. If anybody has any questions about Washington,
Willie understands so little it's shocking, but we'll move past that. But the elements of Senator Kennedy's career as a legislator encompass just that, Joe. People of opposite parties, whether they were constituents or from the national stage, would go in, whether it was taxes, whether it was banking legislation, whatever it was, and he would say exactly that. Let's figure out what we can do to move it forward for you. I will have to vote against it in committee, and I'll vote against it on the floor, but I'm going to send you to Orrin Hatch, or I'm going to send you to John McCain.
And tell you that. And I'm going to vote against you. I may even wave my arms a little bit, but this is what's happening behind the scenes. Orrin's going to help you, and I've got another group that owe me. They're going to help you, too. Just don't worry. It's going to be okay.
And that's not hypocrisy. That's legislating.
No, and then a reservoir of goodwill exists
a reservoir,
step into.
David Gregory, final thoughts. I know you've got to leave us.
Well, I just think on this point, too, you go back to the administration of Bush's father, the first President Bush. The idea of getting individual mandates for health insurance was a dead letter on Capitol Hill. Look at what's possible in this reform effort right now, even if the public option is so controversial. The idea of so much more access, the idea of the insurance companies on board in a way that they weren't when President Clinton tried it. Those are elements of the fight that President Kennedy would certainly smile about. Excuse me, Senator Kennedy would certainly smile about. And again, he has a history on this of wanting to break it up and getting what he could get and then going after the rest later.
All right, David, I know you got to go. Thank you so much for stopping by and talking to us.
Okay, see you later.
We appreciate it. We're coming up on the top of the hour, of course, the sad news out of high